Hey guys, welcome back to Supercoach MVP. Today in this video I'm going to be discussing who I think the best players for 2024 will be, and basically I'm just going to fill up the team and basically show all you guys what I think the best team with the best players will look like, basically, if that makes sense. So yeah, we'll start off with the defense, and first off I think is a must-have, and it's Nick Dacos. I mean, it's his second year and he averaged 116. It should have been a 120 average if it wasn't for that McGuinness tag and injury on the knee. So, yeah, I think he can't go past him. I think he's a 120 lock. I think he will get, actually, I think he'll get 115 because he will get tagged a lot more. And we've seen from his history that he's not the best at handling tags. So, I don't know, who knows, but he'll definitely average 115 plus. You have to have him in your team. You don't have to start him, but you have to have him by the end of the year. So yeah, I think he will be one of the best scorers of 2024. And then next up in the defense, got another obvious one, and that's James Sicily. I think he's only going to get better now. I mean, we've seen these past few years that he's really maturing with age, kind of. He's not even that old, but as he's getting older, he's getting better. Um, yeah, it really hurt me not to have him last year. So very glad I've got him now, and I think he will pump out some killer scores. And by the way, for all of these players that I'm gonna put in this team, I'm just gonna say what average I think they'll get next season, too. And I think Sicily will average 110, around the 110 mark. 110 will do. I think he'll just, he could even go 115. 110 to 115 for Sicily. I really see him blasting away next season. And then next up, I'm not gonna actually pick Stewart. I think he'll be good. He'll be a great defender, but I feel like it'll be a bit of a Sam Doherty, and his midfield role won't go as well. I don't know why. I just have that feeling. I'm probably going to be completely wrong, but I just have that feeling that in the midfield, he's not going to be as good. I feel like he'll probably be a bit better as a player, but I feel like his Supercoach average will kind of go down. And I mean, it's his first year switching from the back line, so yeah, you can trust him if it goes a little bit AWOL. So yeah, I think he'll average 105. I think that's a safe bet for him to get 105, but I don't think you're going to need to have him in your team. I don't think he'll be a must-have. I think he'll be someone that most people will have, but I don't think he'll be a must-have, so I'm going to skip him. And Luke Ryan, going to skip him. I think he'll average maybe like 105, near the same as Stewart, but I don't know. I just don't see a lot in Luke Ryan. Maybe I'm wrong, but don't know. Sinclair, again, probably going to get a midfield-like role, so I think he'll do good. I think he will do good. I think he'll still stay around like this 106, 105, 100 mark. I don't think he'll really go further than that, so not going to pick him. Dan Houston is one I'm heavily considering. I think he can only get better. Let's pick him. From previous years, Dan Houston's been a bit of a roller coaster, and he still was kind of that last year. I mean, he could pump out like a big 170, and then the week after he'll get like a 60. But you know what? I'm willing to take that bet with Dan Houston. I think this was his first ever real breakout-like season, and I reckon that he can only get better. He's got a taste of it now. Got a feel of it. I reckon he can get a lot better. I think he'll average one. I'll say 105 to 110. I think he'll be really good next year. Next up, I've got Harry Sheezel. Now, I know a lot of people aren't starting him, and that's fair enough because he's at a high price for what he did last year. I mean, he was good last year, but 99.5 average for someone who's 556k is yeah, a bit overpriced, but I think he'll only get better. I mean, he's a superstar. We've seen it. Actually, if he does get the midfield role, I could see him doing a bit worse because he'll get tagged a lot more. Yeah, actually, I'm going to change my mind with this one. Since he's going to get the midfield role, I think he's going to go a bit worse. He'll still be a great player, still average in the 90s for sure, but I don't think he'll be a keeper or a must-have. Short, I'm going to go past. I think he will have a good season, but I don't know if he's really going to be a must-have. Lloyd, definitely not going to be a must-have. He's getting a bit old now. Ridley, 100% a must-have in my opinion. So, Jordan Ridley, I really like the way he plays. I really like him as a player. And, yeah, I mean, these past few years, he just averaged like 80 to 90. He's been that sort of player who lots of people have started, but he hasn't really performed well, hasn't really performed amazing and right to their expectations. But I think this is the year where he finally gets it right. We saw towards the end of last year he was pumping out some very good scores. So yeah, I think he can only get better, and I reckon this will be his. Oh, he's already had a breakout year, but I say this will be his breakout again, and he'll average 110, I reckon for sure. So Ridley's a lock in my opinion. Wilkie, nah, he'll probably average 80 or something. Hayden Young, yes, 100%. Um, so yeah, Hayden Young, a popular choice that people are starting, and fair enough because he got the midfield role, and towards the end of the year he was just getting straight 120. So yeah, he looked really good. I don't think you can go past him. Yeah, as a superstar, he'll average. I think he might just get like below 110, but he'll improve a lot. I think he'll get 105 to 110 for sure. I got high hopes for Hayden Young. He's definitely going to be a must-have. Whitfield, I was considering for a bit, but I don't know. I think GWS had the bad buy, so not sure. Vlosten, no. Powell, no. Redmond, no. Dale, no. Moore, no. Duncan, no. Duggan, Brayshaw, Sard. Maybe, but I'm going to focus on this one here. Nazar Wanganeen-Malay right now, he's one that I reckon is heavily going under the radar for next year. He's low priced. He's very low priced. He was a bit inconsistent last year, but we saw what he could do. We got a little bit of taste of the superstar that this guy can become, and yeah, I think next year he can only get better. I mean, he was superb last year, superb for like what he had been before. So yeah, and he's still young. He can only get better. I think he'll average around the 100 mark. I don't think he'll be a must-have, but it'll be someone to maybe have in your bench as a D6 or D7, you know what I mean? So, actually, I'm gonna need another player here for the field. Um, I'll go. I'll just go Tom Stewart. I think he will fall off in the midfield a tiny bit, but I still think he probably would be a must-have. So yeah, I'll swap him with Nazai there, and Nazai will be a good one to have as a D6 or D7. And for the last pick, I've just gone with something a little wacky here, and I've gone Liam Baker. Oh, should I put him in the forward line? Yeah, maybe I'll put him in the forward line. I'll go for what have we got? I'll go with Witherden. Yeah, again, he's still young, I think, and it was alright last year. It wasn't amazing, but I feel like in that Eagles defense, he can break out. No Hearn, so he's just gonna have a decent role in the defense. He'll get lots of disposals, lots of cheapies, lots of good ones too. And I've always rated him as a player. I thought he's alright. So yeah, he might be a good option to have on your bench or something. So yeah, like these players on your bench, these two players on your bench, these are just like purely your D6 and D7 players. If you're gonna get players like that, so yep. For the midfield, Bond's gonna be yep. I think he'll be a must-have. He won't be a starter because I mean, like, look at his price. He'll come down in price, and when that happens, I think you have to get him because I still think he'll average 115 plus for sure, no issues. he did have that ankle surgery, but I'm not too fussed about that. I still think he can do amazing. So yeah, Bonampelli. Not much needs to be said. He's just a superstar player. Could win the Brownlow. So yeah, don't know. He's just gonna get bigger and better. So I have high hopes for him. Oliver gonna miss just because of his controversy surrounding him. Petrarca, I think will be a must-have. Bold call, but after his bye, by the end of the year, I reckon he'll average in the 120s. We've seen Petrarca form into this star player that he is now, and I think he can only get better. He's entering his he's in his prime now, Christian Petrarca, and I think he can only get better. And this 119 average was pretty good for last year, and I think if Oliver plays most games, he's going to get tagged more than Petrarca, and Petrarca will do a lot better in terms of Supercoach scoring. So yeah, I think he'll average in the 120s and he'll be a must-have. So Laird, I think he'll fall off. He's getting a bit old. Don't know about him. Gonna skip. Merritt, probably gonna skip on him too. Same story as Laird. I think he'll still be good. Laird and Merritt will still be very good players, but not must-haves, I don't reckon. Libba, maybe. Maybe. I mean, no Bailey Smith. Could do better, but I don't know. I don't think he'll be a must-have. I think he'll be a pod just like last year. And we got Jordan Dawson, who I think will be a must-have. Jordan Dawson is a superstar. I mean, last year he's one of the best kicks of a midfielder in the league. I mean, he does not miss a target. I love the way he plays. He's a bull, but just so silky at the same time. I think he can really take it to the next level this year. This year. And maybe even win the Brownlow. I have very high hopes for Jordan Dawson. I think he'll average in the 120s for sure, and he'll be a must. I reckon he'll be a top 3 scorer, Jordan Dawson. That's my bold call. Well, not really a bold call, but big call. Josh Dunkley. Oh, yep. So Josh Dunkley last year was an absolute powerhouse. He averaged 115. Was injured towards the end of the year, so that's why you could forgive his like 60s and 70s towards the end of the year. And yeah, whatever. But I think this year, without injuries, he'll do really well. And Neil, I feel like, will step back a bit. He's won the Brownlow. He's a bit too comfy with himself, I reckon. And he'll just he's getting a bit old too. So I don't think he'll be as good next season. And I think Dunkley will take the reins and be another great player. I think he'll average 115 plus again. Yeah, not much needs to be said. He's just another superstar player who I think will be a must-have by the end of the season. And then you got Butters. Butters is a must-have for sure. What do I say about this? Butters was just a superstar last year. He's so influential with the ball and such a great player to watch. I think he can only get better. Still young, first full midfield season, so that's really why he did so well. And if he keeps on getting this midfield role and keeps on just doing as well as he's been doing, I think he'll be a must-have. So yeah, Zach Butters. Davies Uniacke. I know I have him in my team, but I don't know if he'll be a must-have because I don't know. I feel like injuries might get to him, and I might trade him out. I think I have traded him out of my team actually. I might have to check on that. But yeah, I just think he's very injury prone, too dangerous to go for, and yeah, Goulden. This is a very bold call from me, considering he came like second in the round last year. But I don't think he'll be a must-have. I don't think he'll be a must-have because you got people like James Jordan and Taylor Adams who. Well, Taylor Adams is inside mid. He's going to play as inside mid, but Jordan might affect him a little bit on the wing. So, yeah, I feel like just the team's getting better. Sydney's getting a lot better in general. And I feel like Gordon's average will go down a little bit just because there's so many good players in that Sydney team. And they'll take some points off him. So, yeah, gonna skip on Gordon. I don't think he'll be a must-have. Sarong? Probably will. Don't know. I'm going to skip on him for now because I think he'll get tagged a lot more this season. I mean, like, this is his big breakout season, Sarong, so I think he'll get tagged a lot more and get more attention than Brayshaw. So, yeah, I think Brayshaw's the must-have over Sarong. Green, he'll be a must-have by the end of the year, 100%. Not much needs to be said. Again, a superstar. Probably a better player for fantasy than Supercoach, but I think because he's mostly because of his efficiency, but I think he'll fix that up this year and go insane in the midfield and have a crazy year. He'll average 120, 120, oh, not 120, 115, 115 plus Tom Green. And you all know, just getting a bit old, and he won the Brownlow, so, I mean, he's pretty comfortable with himself. He won't really feel the need to get even better, so I don't reckon he'll improve that much. Brayshaw will be a must-have. I think after last year, you can really see that Sarong is the tag target and not Brayshaw. I mean, I feel like Sarong had some games where if he wasn't there, the Dockers would have gotten thumped by like 100 points. So I think teams will start to realise that he's the tag target and not Brayshaw, and Brayshaw will start to get more of the ball over Sarong. And I mean, this 109 average is really like a 110 average because he got tagged heavily at the start of the year. Like, he was getting tagged by every single team. So you can forgive him a bit for that average, even though it's still a great average, but just not Brayshaw standards. And I don't think any of these, I mean, like, Chera, no. Parrish, no. Treloar, no. Rosie, no. Taranto, no. Or Taranto maybe, but no. Anderson, no. Walsh, yes. So Walsh will 100% be a must-have by the end of the year, just because, I mean, he was carrying an injury for pretty much all of last year, and he still averaged 103. I mean, that just says it all in one sentence. I mean, if you're averaging 103 on an injury-surrounded year, you're going to do pretty fucking good on a normal year. So I have very high hopes for Walsh. I think he'll win the Brownlow, no doubt about it. And I think he'll be a must-have. I think he'll average 115 plus. I don't think he'll be like a crazy Supercoach scorer like Petrarca or Dawson. I just think he'll. I don't think he'll average 120. I think he'll be more influential on the game than in Supercoach, if that makes sense. So, yeah, but he'll still be 100% a must-have at this price. Even with the buy, you have to get him in your team. You have to start him. And on the bench, let's just pick a few. Oh wait, I'm out of fucking salary right now. We'll just get rid of this back line to give me some more salary, and you guys have already seen that, so it doesn't really matter. And then in the midfield, on the bench, so these are basically like the mid-price players who I think are going to be must-haves for the season. And I think one of those players is going to be Touk Miller. And I mean, Touk Miller was, again, like Walsh, very, very injury surrounded. Basically played through the whole year with injuries and was playing in all sorts of positions. I mean, they played him on the wing, they played him at half forward, they played him at fucking forward pocket or whatever. But he still did it. I mean, he tagged players. It was just, he can do it all. And I feel like if they just give him a firm role in the midfield, he'll do even better. And I think with Dimmer, that's what he's going to get. So he'll average 110 plus, I reckon, for sure. Probably going to, over these players, I don't think he deserves to be on this field. But yeah, he'll definitely average 110 plus, I reckon. For the next pick, I could go Steele. But I think he'll average around the 100, 105 marks. I don't think that's really must-have. You could skip all these guys. I don't think they're going to be must-haves. Newcomb, a lot of people think will be must-haves, but will be a must-have, but I don't reckon. Blitzers, no. Thomas, no. Warple, no. Crisp, no. Crouch. I'm going to say Crouch at this price, yes. Crouch, I think, will average 105 to 110 this season. and I think he'll be a really good player for 490 at the start of the season. I think he'll rise up in price by a lot. We've seen him at his bench. He's been seen him at his best, and he's been an absolute pig of a Supercoach scorer. He's been a gun. So yeah, I think he'll get even better. He's just had a tough time finding his place in the Adelaide Crows team, but towards the end of the season, we really saw what he could produce, and he got back to form. And if Crouch can get back to form this season, he'll be incredible, and he'll be a must-have. None of these guys, no Dangerfield, no Mills, no Akers, no Atkins, Amon. Oh, what else have we got here? I'll see if we can swap anyone else. Guthrie, maybe. I'm going to take Amon. I think he's going to get some defensive role or something. That's what I heard, and apparently he did really good there last year. And I remember towards the end of the year he was getting like 100s to 120s non-stop. So if he does get that defense role or whatever, I think he will do very well. And even in the midfield, I've always liked Amon. I thought he's been an underrated player, and I think he can only get better. So I've got high hopes for him, and I think he'll be a must-have. He'll average 100. Yeah, 100. I reckon 100. It'll just be a good D6. I mean, what am I saying? M8. Wait, how many players are there? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Yeah, D8 to D9 player. I think he'll suit that well. And yeah, I think he'll stay around that price though. I think he'll definitely average 100, but I think he'll be a bit inconsistent. He'll just be a good D8, D9 player. And in the rucks, I don't think English will be a must-have just purely because of his price. I think he'll end up being a pod actually. I think he'll have another killer season, average 120. And I just feel like, well, no, if he averages 120, he's going to be a must-have. I feel like I know everyone's going the Gawn and Grundy combo, but by the end of the year, you've got to have this guy on your team. I mean, if he does average 120, people are just going to wait for Gawn and Grundy to rise up in price, and they're going to upgrade to Tim English. So, yeah, if he can have another killer year, he'll be a must-have. And then next up, we got... I don't think Marshall will be a must-have. I think he'll still average like 115, kinda. But I think there'll be better ruckmen than him. Yeah, I'm gonna say, where is he? If Grundy can get back to his best, which I think he can at Sydney, he'll be a must-have. It's a bold call because I know a lot of people are saying like, oh, Brodie Grundy, like a lot of people have in their teams, but they don't think he's really gonna explode and be that player he once was. I reckon he can be. I reckon he can be that player who averaged 120s in his prime, even 130s. I don't think he'll average 130, but I think he'll average 115 to 120. Just purely because he's the main man at Sydney. No one really there to challenge him. And I think he's just going to be getting hit out after hit out to his midfielder friends, who will share the ball to him. He'll get lots of possessions, and he'll be a great player. I think he'll be a must-have by the end of the year. And on the bench, we've just got Tristan Xerri. I think it's Cherry. Tristan Xerri, because I think he'll break out, no doubt about it. Yeah, I just see him as a great young talent. So hopefully next year he does well. And a few people have him in their team. Now that Goldstein's gone, he's going to be the main man. So everyone's got high hopes for him, and I hope he can deliver. So yeah, Tristan Xerri. Forwards now. Do we have to get rid of some people? I think we do. We'll get rid of Bond, Petrarca. Just get rid of the midfield. Could just clear team, can't I? Yeah, I can. That was stupid. Forwards. So for the forwards, I think McRae won't be a must-have because I saw some things on the Big Footy forum that was saying McRae was still being played as that half forward, even forward pocket wing kind of role So if that's the case, I don't think he'll be a must-have by any means. I think he'll average like 80 at the most. And I think he'll request a trade the season after, and he'll be better somewhere else. Purely because Bevo is just playing him in a fucking stupid position. I mean, if Bevo gets sacked, and there's a new coach, and they actually play McRae in the midfield, he'll be a must-have. But I just don't think that'll happen. I hope Bevo does get sacked. I've never really rated him as a coach. So if that's the case, he will be a must-have. But right now, I don't think he will be. Luke Jackson is one I've actually thought about as a pod. But with Darcy, I don't think it can. And Darcy was surrounded by injuries as well last season. So if that's the case, he'll do well. And Jackson might be a bit bombarded by him and won't be as effective. Kerner, no. Bolton, no. Martin, no. Daniel, no. Green, no. Moore, no. Walker, no. Gee, it's really hard to tell who's going to be the must-haves and who's not. This forward line is just horrendous. But yeah, we got Flanders. No questions asked. He's a must-have. Towards the end of the season, I think in the season in general, we averaged like 33 touches Flanders. So that's incredible. Absolutely incredible. He'll be an absolute pig of a Supercoach player. He'll average 110, I reckon. No problems. He was just going crazy towards the end of the season. And it hurt me not to have this guy as well. Oh, yeah, did I have him? I'm not sure. Dixon, no. Heaney, no. Sorgo, no. Finlayson, no. Cameron, no. Dana, Rankin. Myers, Keys, Smith. Baker. Bold call. But I think Baker will be a must-have. Apparently, he's going to get some midfield role. That's what I've heard. And if that's the case, I think he'll do well. I mean, we saw him average really well in the back line at like the start of the year, and then he got moved to the forward line, didn't do so well. But if he can go in the midfield and average like 100 to 105 in this bloody horrible forward line, that's a must-have. And it's 100% a must-have. So then we got Taylor Adams. I think he'll be a must-have. At a new club, he came to Sydney in search of more midfield minutes, and if that's the case, we've seen what he can do. I think no problems at all. He can average about 100 to 105, which again, like Baker, this is a must-have in the forward line. And yeah, I think he can do really well at the Swans if he plays pure midfield. Even though there's going to be lots of players that are going to take up maybe some of his points, I still think he'll do really well and be able to get back to his prime a little bit. No one in this sort of range. No. Daniel Hogan, no. Rochelle. Where's Fisher? Zach Fisher, I think in this forward line, these are all crap Supercoach players. I hate to say it, but I mean, they're brilliant players in general. Maybe not Fisher, but everyone else, brilliant players in general. Fisher is too, actually. But yeah, for Supercoach, I think they'll have to do, and Fisher is one of those people. He'll average around the 90s, I reckon, getting that chip roll at getting the seagull roll at North Melbourne, and we've seen how well that's gone in previous years. So if that's the case, and he gets that role there, he'll do really well. He'll average 90 to 100. And in this forward line, that's a must-have. Yeah, I have no idea where to go to next. I'm just aimlessly scrolling here. Because this forward line is just straight up fucking shit. This is one of the worst forward lines we've ever had. Probably the worst. There is no one good to pick here. No one. Go to some of the 270 kind of blokes. James Jordan. Don't think he definitely won't be a must-have, but he'll be good. Saddis, no. Billings, no. We'll go to back up to the top and see who can be a must-have, because in this forward line, we have to get some shit players. Green. Daniel, I think, will have to be. Bolton too. Again, don't necessarily want to get them, but in this forward line, I think they have to be a must-have. Anything to do with, like, anything that I reckon will get a 90 plus average will have to do. And I think Bolton and Daniel can both produce that. Maybe not Daniel, actually, because it was pretty shit towards the end of the season. And I've heard Dusty's in good shape, so maybe we'll go Dusty, actually. We'll go Daniel on the bench. How about that? Yeah, that'll work. Dusty and Bolton, I reckon, will both average around the same. I reckon Bolton will actually average like 100. He'll do really well. Martin maybe like 90 to 95, or maybe 100. I think he'll be a great player for the season, but his glory days in Supercoach are over. And Daniel, I think, will average like 90 at the most, but I mean, you'll take what you can get in this forward line. And then lastly, we'll just go with some dud. We'll go with. Who do I think is going to break out? Gresham, maybe. We'll just have to go to some bloke up here. We'll do Luke Jackson. I think he will be not as good because Darcy, I think, will do better, but I still think in this forward line, you'll take what you can get. He'll average like 85 to 90, but you know what? That's the best you're going to get in this forward line. So, yeah, thank God that's over with. That was a bloody nightmare. And, thank you guys so much for watching. This has been a pretty fun video to make. It's gone off for actually 30 minutes. Wow. Yeah, it's been a fun video to make. Yeah, I'll see you all next time. Thank you.